Hey everyone, I noticed that a lot of you are enjoying my content but haven't subscribed yet. Subscribing doesn't cost a penny. It's free. If you like what you see and want to support me, just hit that subscribe button. It means the world to me and helps me keep creating content you love. Thank you for being here.
What if the smallest kindness you gave today came back to you when you needed it most? Once upon a time, in a village where the sun seemed to linger longer than anywhere else, there lived a man named Omar. The village of Barka lay nestled between olive groves and whispering hills. It was a place where mornings began with the sound of roosters and ended with the lullaby of crickets. To outsiders, Barka was ordinary, a market, a mosque, a scattering of homes. But to those who belonged, it was a world unto itself, a small universe wrapped in the folds of time, and in the heart of this quiet world was Omar. He was not wealthy. He was not a scholar. His name did not carry weight beyond the village boundaries. Yet Omar had something rare, the steady glow of a lantern lit from within. Omar owned a modest tea stall by the marketplace. Traders would shout prices into the dusty air. Children darted through alleys chasing laughter, and weary travelers paused to rest their aching feet. Through it all, Omar stood behind his counter, brewing cardamom tea with the patience of a man who had nowhere to go but everywhere to be. Each morning, he boiled the water slowly, letting the aroma rise like incense. Each evening, when business slowed, he set a cup of steaming tea outside his stall, free, waiting for any passerby with an empty hand. Some sipped it in silence. Others wondered aloud why he did it. One evening, Hafi the blacksmith leaned against the wooden counter and asked, "Omar, why do you give away tea for nothing?" "You gain nothing from it," Omar only smiled. "If warmth returns to me one day, I would like to know I once sent it into the world," chuckled, shaking his head. But deep down, he envied Omar's peace. The parable of the river Omar would sometimes explain his habit through stories. One day, a curious traveler asked him the same question. Omar replied with a tale. "There was once a river," he said, "that flowed through a barren land. The soil took its water, the trees drank deeply, and the animals thrived. The river never asked for thanks. It only gave, and in giving, it lived its purpose. One summer, the rains failed, and the river shrank into a trickle. But the roots of the trees, fattened by seasons of water, now returned moisture to the ground. Birds flew far, but returned with seeds that grew by the riverbanks. What the river had once given was now given back." "Kindness," Omar said softly, "is like that river. It disappears if you hoard it, but if you let it flow, it finds its way back when you need it most." The traveler nodded, touched in ways words could not express. Years passed, like the breath of wind across dunes. The village changed. New roads came. New merchants set up stalls, and old faces faded like ink in sunlight. But Omar remained, steady as ever, lantern glowing quietly within. The air was dry, the winds restless. It began with a careless spark, no one knew whose. Within hours, flames tore through the market. Stalls fell like matchsticks. Smoke choked the sky. Omar's tea stall, his pots, his wooden shelves, all gone. The fire did not ask permission. When the smoke cleared, the marketplace was a skeleton of ash. Omar, with no family and no savings, had nothing left. He began sleeping beneath the fig tree where his stall once stood. At first, villagers pitied him. Some brought him bread. Others avoided his eyes, afraid of the mirror his loss held up to them. But Omar never complained. Each morning he still smiled, And sometimes, with trembling hands, he placed an imaginary cup on an imaginary counter, a cup of tea no one could drink, but whose warmth he could still feel. One night, a group of children asked Omar, "Why do you pretend to serve tea when there is none?" Omar replied with another story. Long ago, a farmer scattered seeds across his land. Some fell on rocks and withered. Some were eaten by birds. But some fell on good soil and took root. The farmer did not know which seed would grow, but he sowed anyway. Years later, one tree from those seeds grew so tall it sheltered the entire village. Kindness is a seed, my children. You plant it without knowing when or where it will grow, but one day it may shade you when the sun is too fierce. The children carried this story home, and though their parents dismissed it, something in their hearts shifted. Seasons turned. Omar grew thinner, his beard silvering, his back bending. Yet his lantern still glowed. And then one morning a stranger arrived. He was young, with eyes full of restless purpose and a scar beneath one eye. His clothes marked him as a traveler from distant lands. He walked straight to Omar, knelt and asked softly, "Are you the man who used to give tea for free?" Omar blinked, surprised, and nodded slowly. The young man bowed his head. "When I was a boy, lost and starving, I passed through this village. I remember your tea. I remember the first kindness I ever knew. I carry it still." Without another word, he turned to his companions. Within hours, tents were raised, supplies unloaded. A new stall, larger, stronger, more beautiful than the last, rose where ashes once lay. Omar, overwhelmed, whispered, "Why now? Why this kindness?" The young man's eyes brimmed with reverence. "Because years ago you gave me warmth when the world was cold. And kindness, old man, is not a ledger.
It is a seed. Today that seed has grown." The parable of the lantern. That night villagers gathered around Omar's new stall, curious and humbled. Omar lifted a lantern and said, "Imagine this flame. If I guard it only for myself, it burns out quickly. But if I use it to light another lantern, the light multiplies. Soon the whole village can shine. So it is with kindness. The more you give, the brighter the world becomes. And when darkness comes for you, the light you once gave may be the only thing that guides you home." The crowd fell silent. Some wept quietly, for in Omar's story they saw their own. Omar's stall thrived again, but more than tea, people came for his words. Travelers carried his parables across deserts, mountains, and seas. Some called him a sage, others a fool. Omar only smiled, for he knew titles meant nothing. What mattered was that the lantern inside him had lit others. Years later, when Omar finally left this world, his stall remained. The young man, now older, kept the tradition alive, placing a cup outside the counter each evening, steaming and free. And the villagers told their children and their children's children about Omar the tea seller, whose kindness grew into a forest of light. In life, give without asking. Do not count favors. Do not wait for applause. True karma is not a balance sheet, it is a seed. Plant it in silence, water it with patience, and one day when you need it most, it will bloom. Omar's lantern did not glow because he was rewarded. It glowed because he recognized what he had always known. Kindness is never wasted. So today, my friend, go out into the world. Leave behind a cup of tea, a word of comfort, a small act of love. You may not see its return tomorrow, but years from now, in a moment of despair, you will find a door opening, a hand reaching, a light flickering in the dark. That is karma. That is kindness. That is the seed you plant today, blooming into the forest of tomorrow. Hey everyone, I noticed that a lot of you are enjoying my content but haven't subscribed yet. Subscribing doesn't cost A penny, it's free. If you like what you see and want to support me, just hit that subscribe button. It means the world to me and helps me keep creating